Hey everybody, it's Mike here from The Art of Guitar, here with kind of a different type of lesson today. It's not really a guitar lesson per se, but it's more of like a life lesson through guitar that I learned over all these years. And recently I've had a few students who are girls who have told me stories about these guys that have been hounding them and chasing after them, and how my students are kind of annoyed by them, and they keep putting these guys in the friend zone, and they can't figure out that they're in there, so they keep trying and trying so hard. And part of me, I want to sympathize with my student, but I also feel bad for these guys because I remember being that age, and the most important thing to me was to try to find a girlfriend at one point and to try to feel like somebody actually liked me, and going out with somebody sounded so exciting to me. And so I kind of sympathize with these guys too at the same time. And I thought, I wish I could give them advice now that I've lived all these years and I could tell them what I would do differently. The funny thing is, though, is my story was kind of forced on me. I really had no choice. This video is called Don't Chase Girls, Chase Guitar. But the strange part is I really didn't have a choice when I was younger, because I was trying to chase the girls for a long time and it just wasn't working for me. So all I really had left was guitar and music, because I knew I loved that. And so I pursued it with everything I had. I was practicing from 6 to 8 hours every day. And once I got into that routine, there was just no going back. Guitar had become my life. And so while other people were out partying, going to dances, hanging out, getting crazy, doing whatever, I was in my basement playing my guitar. And there were a lot of people who thought that was kind of sad. Like, oh man, his only friends are really his guitar and his amplifier and his music. And it seemed sad at the time to them, but to me, I was so engrossed in music that I didn't have time to really think about it being sad or weird or anything like that. I just knew I had to do it. So that's just sort of a disclaimer. Is I was forced into it. I didn't have the choice to pursue girls or guitar. It was just I had to do guitar. And the rest just kind of happened. And I observed it, and so with this video I can tell you what came about through this process. I mean, I had crushes going all the way back to 4th grade, and I remember there was a girl who I liked a lot, and she just had no time for me at all. I was kind of the weird Asian kid in class, so it was really hard. It was kind of hard going at the time for me. And so we had this talent show, and I brought my fake nunchucks, and I just did like a ninja routine and twirled a bow staff and stuff. And she was in the contest as well. And I ended up taking first place. And I didn't know how to tell her I liked her, so I just gave her my award. They just gave us this little certificate saying you won. And I gave it to her. I thought that would like win her over or something like that. And I remember she was like, oh, that's so sweet. And then she just kind of walked away. And then a few months later, this new kid moves into town, and they ended up going out, which is funny because he ended up being my best friend. Such a strange time. But anyways, yeah, so I was pretty defeated in that area. And it wasn't until junior high that I started to play guitar. But thank God I did at the time that I did, because that's when things are really getting crazy. A lot of people are dating. You're looking around. A lot of your friends have girlfriends, and you just feel kind of like a loser hanging out by yourself. And so I just took that energy, and like I said, I poured it into guitar. And practicing that much every day, I didn't know it was going to pay off so much in the future, but I just knew I had to do it. So I ended up getting in a band with that best friend I was just talking about, and we played the talent show in junior high, and there was about 600 people watching us, all the popular kids. It was really crazy. Just basically everybody in the school watched us, and we did it 3 times for 600 people each time. We had a big school. So that was crazy, and all of a sudden that kind of put us on the map as far as, hey, these guys are the musicians in the school. So instead of being just the losers that all the jocks picked on, we kind of leveled up a little bit, and more of the jocks liked us. Some of them still hated us, but there's always going to be that. But a lot of people were coming up and giving us accolades. They're like, oh, you guys are really awesome. We played Ride the Lightning by Metallica, and it was just a huge thrill. But it was so strange how the public perception of us changed so much just by playing these instruments on stage. So when that happened, I started to get a feel for, okay, this thing could actually change my life. It was sort of a residual benefit because, first of all, I just loved playing. I think that's the most important part, is the love came first. I found guitar. Guitar became my first girlfriend, if you will. And everything followed after that. And then we were asked to play like the popular kids' parties. And I didn't care. I didn't really care about getting popular or anything like that. But I just liked the fact that we weren't getting picked on as much. And people were coming up to us and wanting to talk. So instead of me being at a party all by myself in the corner trying to talk to girls or something, we would just get done playing a song, we would take a break, and they would come to us. I thought, wow, this is a lot different. And I realized that's because, well, number one, you're doing something kind of cool. You know, you're playing music and all that, expressing yourself, people like that. Second of all, I think your inner vibe changes. So because I was already fulfilled with this instrument, I just knew I could always go home and play guitar no matter what happened. I didn't give off a desperate vibe of, oh, I hope this girl likes me. I hope she talks to me. And if she walks away, you know, you feel so lost, like you're losing something if you don't have anything else in your life. So I just didn't care as much anymore. So I would just be like, oh, this girl doesn't want to talk. Who cares? There's other girls coming up. There's guys, everybody's coming up and just talking to you after a set. So it was a real awakening to learn that that vibe that you give off, that desperate vibe, can disappear if you truly follow what your passions are, because that ends up filling that strange void we all seem to have. And then everything else becomes added to you after that. So I wasn't trying to fill this void with people. I wasn't trying to like reach out and pull people in. Every time I did, they just seemed to slip away. It just seems to be some universal law. If you reach for something too much, it just wants to keep going away. Almost like when two positive magnets are trying to go together and they just will never come together. It's that weird energy that happens. I just kept pushing people away like that. But when you change your attention, when you change your focus to something you truly love and you let your whole life become about that, it's almost like you've changed your polarity or something. It's such a strange change that can happen. I'll never forget one time I was talking to this girl after a show, and I thought we were kind of hitting it off. You know, I was feeling the vibes and all that. And at the end, this guy came up. It ended up being her boyfriend, and they just walked off. And instead of feeling that crushing feeling I would have felt if I didn't have guitar, I remember going, well, I wanted to go home and learn that new Megadeth song anyway. I had just gotten the Countdown to Extinction book. So it's so funny how girls can leave you at any time, but guitar will always be with you. And it's such a great feeling. And I honestly think that's, I may have overdone it, but that's probably why I surround myself with guitars. It's kind of my harem of guitars, if you will. But it always feels like these are always here for me. And because of that, I have my home base here. It's a feeling of comfort and belonging and connection. And when people come along and they want to be a part of my life, I'm in that good position where I can choose whether or not I want them to come and join my strange little world here. You know, it's a great feeling to be more in control of your happiness and your joy, because it's not in the hands of somebody else, because people can change and people can decide to come and go. But when you have music, it's like you have a permanent friend, you have a permanent residency somewhere. And it gives you this weird power. It's really hard to explain unless you really feel it. You feel like you're really grounded in something great. And no matter what happens in the world or in relationships or anything, you always have something to come home to. What I noticed happening to some of my friends who were kind of interested in guitar, but then they just gave it up to pursue women for the most part, is they may have gotten a few dates. Some of them even had long-term girlfriends, but eventually that fizzled out. And what I learned from talking to a few of them, not all of them, some of them have had success stories and they got married and everything's great, but a lot of them ended up just not having anything, because in the time that they would have been cultivating their talents, and I'm not just talking about guitar, anything, working on cars, computers, anything that you're interested in, they just didn't put the time in. And so they didn't have that head start that you get when you start doing something in your early teens. And we talked about that magic age to start something was around, you know, if you're around 12, 13, it just seems to be a magical time when your brain really wants to grab onto something. And so I was grabbing onto guitar while other guys were trying to grab onto girls or whatever. And what happened was they just felt like, some of them admitted to me, I feel like I wasted a lot of time just, you know, chasing people around. And next thing I know, they're all gone, and I'm sitting here and I can't do the thing that I originally wanted to do so bad. So that's kind of what I see these guys doing when my students tell me about these guys chasing after them. I want to tell them, just tell these guys to get a hobby, do something they really love and get really good at it. And maybe they can build up that vibe that will actually make them attractive to women versus that desperate feeling of chasing after them. Now we have to talk about the trap, because I fell in it for a little while. Luckily I got out. And the trap is that you get really good at something, I'll just say guitar again, and suddenly people come to you and you find someone you really like, and then you drop guitar to pursue that person full time. That is the trap, and that happens so much. And when that happens, it's almost as bad as if you didn't start guitar at all. Because it's almost like you cheated on guitar, you just used it to get what you really wanted, let's say. And then when that disappears, if it disappears, you come back and the guitar seems to hold it against you for a long time. I found that guys that gave up guitar to pursue relationships, they want to come back to guitar, but it seems like a real tough go, especially if they let it go for a long period of time. It's like anything. If you get out of the routine, it's really hard to jump back in. But it has been done. In my case, I left guitar when I was about 20. I didn't leave it, but I neglected it way more than I should have for somebody. And I really got my heart torn out, and I ended up not being with this person. And the ironic thing is that the very thing that got me over the relationship was the thing I abandoned, which was guitar. I remember after the breakup coming home, and it was almost like I had to kiss up to my guitar and say, "Will you take me back?" And I just bought a 4-track recorder, and I was recording some really depressing Alice in Chains songs, probably something off of Jar of Flies. And I was just pouring my heart out through the guitar. And it really kept me going because I was at that weird age where I'm like, maybe I should just end it all. I was being really dramatic, listening to, like I said, Alice in Chains, Nine Inch Nails, and all that stuff back then. But the guitar brought me back to life like it has many times now. And so it really just cemented in my mind that this has got to be number one, and everything will come later. Now, that's not saying that if you find somebody, you can't love both. I think that's really the key. It's not about shutting everybody out and only loving your guitar, even though that's what I do a lot of the times. But I've had times where I've had both, and it goes really well as long as you don't neglect one or the other. So that's my disclaimer. I'm not married, I don't have any kids, and I play guitar full time. So I'm coming from it at a very biased point of view. But judging from my level of joy inside, how I feel every day when I get to come here and play guitar and do my videos and all that and express myself, I can't imagine my life any other way. Like if there was a meter for happiness, it's like, I think I hit the top. So I always say if I die tomorrow, I die happy because I feel like I made it doing what I love doing. So I'd love if you guys can leave a comment. If you're a younger person and you're just getting into this, let me know what your thoughts are about this. And if you're older and you've had a lot of experience, you've lived a lot of years, and you can see the results of the choices people have made or that you've made, I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments. It's just really interesting for me to learn other people's stories. And I only bring you this story because of the many tales that I've heard of it going the wrong way. So I kind of want to give you guys a little bit of my side of things so that hopefully it could push you in the right direction if you truly love guitar, to focus on that as much as you can at an early age so that it can pay off the rest of your life, even just by being there in your life your whole life. All right. I'm not talking about getting rich or famous or anything like that necessarily. I'm talking about always having something in your life that you care about, that you can look forward to playing, and it really makes life full. All right. We'll catch you guys soon. Hopefully that helps a lot of people out. Thanks. Bye.